Hi, everyone. Welcome to Radiant Living, Inspiring Humanity to Thrive. I'm Marisa B, and today I'm going to welcome Maggie Sharar. She's an artist, a mom, a channel for the divine, of absolutely fabulous healer, inspirer, all around wonderful, creative soul, and a serious domestic violence survivor. Hi, Maggie. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for telling us your story today. It's so important.
Hi, Marisa. Thanks for having me.
You're quite welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so basically, I grew up also in a domestic violence household. So this goes to foundational trauma, the CPTSD. So yeah, I've basically been working on breaking free from that and healing that for about 4 years with therapy, pretty intentionally. And yeah, I've been painting all my life since I was a child. That was kind of like my first escape, I think, from, the outer stresses of the world.
Mhm.
So art has become my main source of centering and expressing what is so hard to say sometimes. And yeah, I have 2 kids. Una is 12. My son Elliot is 8. And we have been living the single mom life for about 7 years now. That's when I left their dad, who was my main domestic abuser. Emotional and mental abuse was the main thing there, but there was a little physical at some point many years ago. And yeah, I'm also sober. I'm 5 years sober now. And so
Congratulations.
thank you. That has been a huge factor in being successful with my art career. There's no way I would be able to do this if I was still drinking. And yeah, I have a great dog. I love him so much. And I'm pretty into movement and working through trauma that way as well. So yeah, that's the short answer.
Yes, I know. A little aside, I know you roller skate.
I do
I know
roller
you're you're a roller skating fan, and because I am too, that's why I
Yeah.
know. And it's excellent exercise, so I know that.
Oh
But
yeah.
what I find extremely fascinating is that you have been able to rise above the situation and actually make a career out of your art,
Yeah.
and support your children. Because I know that you had mentioned that you really are the sole support of
Yeah.
your children, and it had to be that way. So I applaud you, because I know that working with artists, I had volunteered for a while in both facets. I had worked with a company in England through the internet that helped individuals that had mental illness and were working through mental illness. They were using art, and I was
Yeah.
I was an art critiquer for them.
Oh
And
wow.
yes, and so also I worked in New York State. I worked at a gallery and an art center that was pretty well known internationally, Barrett Art Center. And working with artists, I know, once again, that it's very difficult to make a living out of art. And
It is.
yes, and I applaud your efforts, and I know that your work is fabulous. I know that you have fabulous female archetypes and female totems, and just wonderful art. And I want to know, what medium do you work in? I mean, I know through watching your art that you do dabble in a lot of different things, but your primary medium is what?
Yeah, I use watercolor as it's like, I call it like my soul medium. It's just the one that makes the most sense to me. It's so accessible to me. I started using watercolor when my children were really young, because I started off with my art using acrylic, and, it kind of stains stuff, and you have to paint canvas, and it just takes up a lot of space. And then I did oil, and there was a lot of fumes. And so with little kids, I needed something that was like instant, dried fast, no fumes, flat paper, put it away. So it became this really, really cool medium that was working in my life. In my marriage, I wasn't really given a lot of space. So I had to make it work. And I didn't have a workspace. So I just had to be compact about it. And then, it kind of clicked where watercolor spoke to me in this really powerful way, because it's very organic in the way it moves. And, water is a conduit of energy. And so I really feel that it channels whatever's coming to me, however it's coming to me, goes through me, goes through the water. And then we work together in this way where watercolor does what it wants to do. A lot of people steer clear of it.
It's very difficult, from what I understand, from what artists tell me. It's one of the mediums that very, very difficult to work in, to control.
Yeah. And so my whole thing in life is releasing control. It's let it do what it wants to do, and then work with what is there. And so that's really how I go about it. I like to put down color first and let it kind of swirl. And a lot of times I don't even know what I'm painting until I start painting it. So yeah, my work is very organic, sometimes more abstract, definitely on the surreal side. And like you said, it's archetypal, like these archetypes come through me, and they're symbols of strength, symbols of surrender, sometimes like grieving. All of these things come through at different times, anger. But yeah, watercolor it's my favorite.
Well, I mean, through the power of social media and the internet, we actually became friends on one of the women's groups. And so I've watched, and it's quite a number of years now. And I've watched, and of course you're much younger than I am. And I've watched your career, your art career. And I've watched how so many women relate to your work.
Yeah.
So many women, they purchase your work in every facet. In fact, I was so thrilled when, I guess over the last year or two, you began to put some of your work on other products, which I think is fantastic. In fact, I have to laugh because I purchased my own mug, because this is, and my daughter says to me, "Mom, that's the star. I want that." Because I had purchased her a star tarot card earrings at an event. And when she saw the mug, she's like, "I have to have that." And I said, "Well, don't worry, because I'll be buying more." And she has many different kinds. But I was thrilled to see that you were able to start putting your artwork on other products that people could buy, because I know how inspiring it is for all of these women that have been purchasing your art. I know that you mentioned that you it was like a kinetic way that you were working with things, to release your energy, to release energy into the painting. I like how you mentioned that it was similar to trying to grasp the God particle in your hands, and trying to let it out to the planet. Not only to heal yourself, because of course it was a form of therapy for you. I mean, I know you went to art school, so I know you were, you went to art school, you were traditionally trained. I know you took a break while your children were small. You went back to the art afterwards, full time back to the art. But I know that it was not only the healing process for yourself, but how you were releasing the ability to heal for others others. And if I would love for you to show some of your work. I mean, I find it absolutely beautiful. And I'd really love to see if you could show some of the paintings to us, if possible, maybe explain a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm going to open up my screen now to you guys.
Perfect.
And where I want to start is actually one of my first paintings. Now, this was back in 2007. So this piece was my first series called The Birds, which is going to come back in a second. let's see if I made this so big. Okay. So that is the birds, and that was an acrylic
Mhm.
um coffee style that I began painting straight out of college. I only went to art college for 1 year.
Mhm.
And this is the first piece I sold. This was like an 18 by
Mhm.
24 painting.
Wow.
So that was again part of this bird series.
Yes, you did a show, right? It was a show in Florida, if I'm not
In
mistaken.
Florida, yes,
Florida, right? The birds.
exactly. So
Yes.
you can really see in these two pieces
Mhm.
that there's a lot of sadness, and
Mhm.
it was very much feeling like I didn't belong.
Mhm.
So this was before I understood how to pull not only like sorrow and grief through my art process, but like this was before I understood how to pull strength and hope. So
Mhm.
these pieces, I think, were kind of hard for people to be with because there wasn't that aspect of like pulling through. It was more like, oh gosh, this is heavy stuff. Um, so this was kind of the next phase of my creative journey. This was when I was financially controlled by my ex-husband, actually, and he
Mhm.
didn't really
Mhm.
allow me to buy art supplies. Um, and so what I would do is I would take my daughter at that point, I only had one child at that point, and I would take her on walks, and we would go past these construction sites, and I would find these piles of like wood they were throwing out. And so I would collect them and then I would paint on them. So,
Oh, lovely.
persevering and finding a way. And I was having art shows during this time too. And I was finding my strength, this was the first time these like horns kind of showed
Mhm.
up in my work. And then the next piece I'm going to show you is
No, look at that.
I created this piece after my divorce. And this piece definitely resonates with a lot of people. And what's interesting about this piece is that it's a marker piece. Like I don't really have a lot of those available.
Mhm.
But yeah, this one is one of my most popular pieces. And I think that there is some more of that hope feeling, but there's
Mhm.
also a connection back to the bird series here. Again, we
Mhm.
have this kind of overwhelm, but bird feature happening. And the birds became a different kind of symbol at that point.
Mhm.
Um, this piece here was directly after my divorce. So this is when I started to embrace the energetic death and rebirth process.
Mhm.
And this piece is called The Life of Death. And
Mhm.
so, my past abused self, all of that, the 7 years that I had
Mhm.
gone through, I was I was releasing it and letting it die. And then these mushrooms were
Mhm.
representing the fruits that come when you let go of, toxicity.
Mhm.
Uh, Mushrooms are magical in that way. They
Mhm.
can transform all kinds of toxins into, you know,
Mhm.
growth.
It's in it's interesting, the eyes that appear on the butterfly. I mean,
Oh,
I know, of course, that those types of butterflies there are a number of them that they have that camouflage, that their wings look like eyes. But it's
yeah,
also very, from a therapeutic standpoint, from a therapist, it's very telling. It's
exactly.
almost, the awakening, almost, opening your eyes to what's happening. It's really very nice,
Yeah,
really.
thank you. And yeah, and you can see the horns are coming back into the
Mm-hmm.
image. So yeah, her face is still covered, right? But you can see she's starting to wake up, like you said. So
Mm-hmm.
I still had a long way to go with my healing at this point, because when I created this piece, I was still deep in my alcoholism. I was struggling a lot. And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't talk about
Mm-hmm.
is, you know, when you're a domestic abuse survivor, chances are you've picked up some really unhealthy coping tools. And so directly after my divorce for 2 years, I struggled with drinking when my kids were at their dad's house. That's when
Mm-hmm.
I would just
Mm-hmm.
try to forget it all. And I was still painting, but not in a way that could grow in a sustainable way. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
really it was, I was creating more art. Yes, I was getting better, but I wasn't creating every day like I personally need to. So I wasn't anywhere close to living off my art at this point. But this is one of my favorite pieces because it represents this like in between time. I was still really hurting, but I was reaching out to the divine, like, help me,
Yes.
Um, so I want to move forward to my next most popular piece.
Oh, yes.
So of my sobriety and my self-trust that came with that. This is called Breath of Life. And this one resonates with a lot of people because you can just feel it. Like it makes you, kind of like take a breath.
Yes.
Yeah. And it almost has this has a vibrant quality to it. So this is after the birds, this one rivals. And I feel like I sell them probably at the same rate at this point. So interesting because very different energies, but
yes. And possibly for people at very different places in their life.
yeah, exactly. And we can all travel through those places and experience those things. So, different pieces affect people at different times. So that one, oh, I love her. And when I created these pieces, this is another
look at
one.
how lovely. This is beautiful too.
Thank you. This is called Life Giver. And this piece was created in the summer. I think it has a really strong summer feeling. That's when I feel most alive in Seattle, is during the summer. I just like love being in the sun. So this was the first year that my income took me to a place where I was starting to thrive. Because before this, I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment with my kids. I was making the bills, but we were very cramped. And yeah, I was still recovering. I was still majorly in recovery mode. So this piece really represents the thriving season as well. And I think you can feel that, like it becomes more free and more grounded. Let's see. Then I want to bring up this one.
Oh, this is one of my favorites.
Thank you. So this is of land and sea. And this piece really signifies an opening for me into more detail work, which I think you can definitely see that this piece kind of goes to the next level. And I created this one in 2023, so this year. And I think that it's very symbolic and of opening and releasing and understanding that I do have my own back and I can be in 2 places at once. And, so that's why it has like land and sea. And, I know I can make it work wherever I am. And I also feel a deep connection to nature. So that's also those aspects coming through. And this piece is very large. This one is 26 by 40. So quite a big painting. It's still available because it's one of my higher end pieces, but I also have prints of it. So, really big prints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I would imagine so. The prints would have to be large.
Oh yeah. I mean, I wanted to offer something that felt immense, something grand. So this is, I love this piece.
This is another one beautiful. Yes.
Thank you. What is this one called? I
love the fox.
Yeah, the little desert fox in this one. And she's kind of like, opening this blanket that is the sky. When my children were little, I read this book and it was about like what the fairies do. And one of them puts up the night sky. So that was kind of me pulling from like this
lovely
idea. And the hawk is also in a lot of my work as a symbol of resilience. They live in harsh elements and they're amazing predators. Let's see.
So much of a difference, so vibrant after the years of sobriety, right?
Exactly.
So much vibrancy
yes.
in the paintings.
Yeah, I feel like they're getting brighter and bolder. right along
Yes.
with me.
I mean, they look lovely. Yeah. And I can see the
Yeah.
years of work that you've done for yourself, the healing that you've done as well. You
Yeah.
can definitely see it in your work. And I understand how it resonates with people when they see it, especially people that are dealing with the same things that you dealt with and
Yeah.
finding themselves in the middle of it. It's something to cling on to for them.
Yeah, I'm so happy to give these symbols, and I have people ask me, what piece would you suggest for, my sister who needs, this type of
Mm-hmm.
healing? And I'll go through my gallery because I have hundreds of pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very prolific, and a part of that is because I need to move a lot of energy, and there is like this element that I think that I am channeling images for
Mm-hmm.
specific people sometimes, people will reach out to me and buy an original painting and be like, this is so synchronistic, you won't even believe it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking about this, or these animals just came to me and this imagery is so meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of things happen like that with my art. And so it feels very important. It feels like this is the work I'm supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
doing. There were many times, even throughout the past 3 years that I've been full time, where, maybe there was a lean season and I said,
Mm-hmm.
well, maybe I should get a second job,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm totally open to working again outside of the house.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I said, okay, universe, guide me. I surrender my will and I
Mm-hmm.
take on the will of the universe. What is it that I'm supposed to do? And it just always comes back to like, no, you're supposed to be doing
Mm-hmm.
this. So until I'm guided elsewhere,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I'm going to be doing, and putting my heart into it. And, it's a serious
Mm-hmm.
professional endeavor that takes being very flexible. Like you said, the mugs that I offer and the smaller prints, and sometimes I
I'm
make
I'm waiting
sculptures.
for canvas bags.
I know. No, they do have those
Oh, they
on
do.
my print on demand companies, but I'm really trying to break away from the print on demand companies because they take a lot of the money from those products.
Right.
And I like making them myself. I make the mugs myself. So
Yes, that I know. Yeah, I
yeah,
was so impressed that you
yeah.
actually
So
make them yourself. Yes.
I learned about sublimation printing. And so
Mm-hmm.
I turned an eco tank printer into a sublimation printer. So I
Mm-hmm.
could make canvas bags. I just need to get a heat press next. So that's my next
I'll be waiting for that.
investment.
Actually, I was looking at your smaller pieces. I think you had a couple of 4x6s
Yeah.
in your store. And I was thinking, oh, I'd like to get those and a few of them and then put them together like a triptych or something like
Well,
that. Yes, exactly.
what's interesting that you say this is that I was about to offer a listing of these framed pieces, like three for,
Yes.
a certain number. Um, so stay tuned because
Yes.
I create these small ones to be hung together or
Mhm.
to put on a gallery wall and kind of fill in little spaces. I think my daughter's iPad is dinging.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. We've had terrible weather here this afternoon, and there was actually thunder and lightning going on while we've
Oh
been
my gosh.
talking. But that's just the way it works.
Yep, that's
When it's
life. That's
when
life.
you're, yeah, that's how life goes. You just roll with it.
That's
And well, I mean, you're doing such important work, and the work has to continue because you have to help people, and that's really what you're there for. Like you said, you're channeling something, and every piece speaks to people. They just do, and I think the vibrancy makes them feel more alive as they're going through things, and I think that's why there's been such a success with your work.
yeah.
And now, are you in a particular gallery? I know you did a show recently.
Yeah.
When last we spoke, you were getting ready, you were busy. Before you
Yeah.
were going to speak with me because you had to get things out to a show. So I'm assuming you do a number of shows all over. But do you have a specific gallery where your work is at? Have
I'm
you?
not, yeah, I'm not in a physical gallery right now, but in Seattle, we have art walks. And so,
Mhm.
you can apply to each neighborhood, and
Mhm.
really have not been hanging up in physical spaces since the pandemic. I had one
Mm.
art show last year, and I just do so much online that I'm
Mhm.
like, I I don't really need to be out there. But recently, since things have kind of settled down in the world, I have felt a strong pull
Mhm,
to be connected with other artists in the community and
mhm.
connect with people in Seattle, because I have quite a few Seattle collectors, and this is a very open-minded spiritual
Yes,
space. So I
yes.
figure like there's got to be a lot of people who I haven't met
Mhm.
yet.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sure. Yeah. And Seattle is um very open, very
yeah,
open. And they
exactly.
have a fabulous art scene.
They
That's
do. They
true.
do.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so I feel like, with healing from abuse, your brain, it actually gets damaged. You go
Mhm.
through
Oh, absolutely.
parts of your
Absolutely.
brain shrink and parts of your brain swell,
Hmm.
and they make it hard to complete tasks. So,
Hmm.
part of my whole process of being an artist has been understanding that there are times in my life where I cannot do certain things.
Hmm.
And, it does affect my income at some point, but
Hmm.
I also understand that like my income grows as I heal. And
Hmm.
so getting back into galleries is starting to happen again. And I did
Yes.
just hang somewhere and I sold some pieces, and
Oh, wonderful.
yep, we
Wonderful.
had a great opening, and I sold some prints and some hand painted clothes and
Oh,
met some
great.
people. And I recently heard back from a gallery in another neighborhood, and they are very interested in my oil paintings. So
Mm.
that is something that has just opened up for me within the past 2 years. I started getting back into oil because my brain is healing and I can suddenly
Yes.
sit for longer.
Hmm.
And so that's exciting.
That's wonderful. Oh, I can't wait to see some of the
Yeah.
oil paintings. That would be perfect. I know that oftentimes when people are trying to heal, they have a tendency of blaming themselves. Like you said, that trying to, even though somebody may be damaged and trying to work through it, they still have a tendency of listening to the old programming and blaming themselves. And
Yeah.
so getting out in the world and dealing with other artists and showing your work, that's courageous. I have to tell you, it's courageous, but I know it's healing. I know it's therapeutic, but it is courageous because sometimes people do have a tendency of turning everything inward and blaming themselves. Oh, I can't work so many hours. I can't concentrate. I can't do this, that, and the other thing. And it's wonderful that you're, pushing through all of that. I mean, I know you've gone through a lot of therapy and
Yeah.
inner work, long inner work, but it's wonderful that you're doing all of that, and fabulous that you're getting your art out there, because it's
Yeah.
wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. I always look at everything. I mean, I love, there's every woman that you do is such a strong totem that I could immediately see as I was watching your career. I could immediately see how women were drawn to the paintings right away.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
you know what would be lovely? A tarot deck.
You
Wouldn't
know
that be
what?
lovely?
I'm pulling up a new piece and it kind of brings me to
Isn't that
that.
beautiful? Look at this one.
So this one,
Gorgeous.
this one has, I think, kind of blown up online recently. A page
Yes.
called She on the Tip of Her Tongue, who posts
Uh-huh.
like poetry paired with paintings. A long time ago, they asked for my permission to post my artwork
Mhm.
with poetry. And that has become something that I charge for now. If somebody wants
Mhm.
my artwork with their writing, I'm like, okay, yeah, but we're going to do a payment here. Um,
Yes.
but this is the one page that's actually like super, super popular. So when
Mhm.
they post one of my pieces, it gets exposed to like thousands of people, and
Mhm.
it really does have like this boomerang effect coming back to me. And this piece they posted, and it was like, oh, like people
Yeah.
went crazy for it. And I think this
It's
is,
beautiful.
thank you. This is called The Things We Carry. And so,
Mhm.
you know, it's about carrying burdens. It's about
Mhm.
carrying what it is to be a woman in the world. It's
Mhm.
about carrying creation, and it's, carrying sadness and
Mhm.
resilience and strength. And so it's all of these things that we carry. And I think that this is maybe my 18th professional scan. So when we talk about doing a tarot deck,
Mhm.
that's something that I have to collaborate with a scanner and a print company, and
Mhm.
it's like
Mhm.
all of these moving parts. And so
Yes.
when I release a deck, that is going to be like, that's going to be a day in my healing, because there's so many moving parts that have to happen and so much
Oh,
focus.
remind me, I may be able to get you some printers that do specifically that. So they
Okay,
may
yeah,
have a few, I'll give you a few names
that would be great.
because they may be able to coordinate those
Yeah,
types of trades that have to do all that different work.
yeah,
Because that would
totally.
be wonderful. And
That's
what's the name of the what is it, a website or a Facebook page, or that's collaborating their words, their poetry with your
Oh, yeah, that's called She on the Tip of Her Tongue.
She on the Tip of Her Tongue. And it's a website?
It's like a Facebook page.
Oh, a
And
Facebook page. Oh,
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah. So they are big on the arts and sharing people's work, and they share my several of my pieces, and it's been a really good exposure for me. A lot of times people will say, "Oh, how about trade for exposure?" And it's mostly never a good deal.
Right, right.
But like in this case, I was like, okay, you're legitimate. So it's been really good. And yeah, I think I'll be able to have a deck in the next 2 years based on how many scans I have now, because I would like to have 30 pieces in a deck, and I have close to 20 now. So it's the financial investment of getting these scans. And I go to a local place, so I love using them. But once I have, 30 scans, then it's just going to be about writing what each thing means. And that might be a really big thing that tries to hold me up, even though I have so much to say. I know exactly what they mean, but it's still a challenge to do the thing, so I'll get there eventually.
Yeah, you'll get there. You'll definitely get there.
I'm on my way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fabulous that someone has decided to put their poetry. I'll be interested to see that, put their poetry to some of your paintings. That's so nice that they're doing that.
I don't know if it's their specific poetry. I just know that they are combining it with poetry, and
that's lovely.
Pieces that really impact people that like my artwork. So it's this really great like funneling of creativity.
No, that sounds wonderful. I'm definitely going to have to look into them. And so now where do you see yourself going from here? What do you see working on next? Or I know you said you've just gotten to the oils.
Yeah. So I think, I'm kind of a funny creator and business person in a way, because I have big goals, really big goals, and I just keep creating. And I think at some point I could probably use some business advice, but at this point I really want to get my art on a lot of walls, and I do want to get a few different oil shows going. I would love to get just a fully focused landscape oil painting show, because that's a whole different demographic of people.
I saw one of those landscapes. It was gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's still
different, but gorgeous.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, there's still emotion embedded into it, but it's for sure, mixed into this visual scene of landscape. So that's a really fun shift for me, and I want to create more landscapes. These larger oil paintings definitely take a lot more time, and it's a different mode for my brain, but I want to do more of those. So I think just getting my art on walls is something that is a goal this year, and to be involved with more creative communities. Another thing that I brought into my life this year was rest. So sometimes it's not always about doing more with the business, but slowing down and resting more, so that my creativity is nice and clean and fully expressed. So I've slowed down quite a bit in a lot of ways too, which I'm really proud of. And I just my ultimate goal is to be able to paint, maybe 24 pieces a year and live off of it. But, right now I paint like 5 pieces a week.
Yes. Well, yeah. Yes. I know you're prolific. Yes. Now, are you adverse to going across the country? Like, how does that work with an artist? Because I know it's financial as well. So even though you're you're healing yourself, you're working through, it's still a business. You want other people to see it because you want to help them heal. You're called to do that work, but yet there are the logistics of things. Now things are opening up, but still, how do you maneuver things, especially a big piece? A smaller piece may not be that hard, but a bigger piece, getting them places, it's still
That's very
a difficult task, right?
Yeah, that isn't something that I've had to navigate yet, but I am. I've been invited to a private event. I think it's in Indiana from one of my main collectors. And so we'll be doing probably mostly watercolor at that event. But so that's a really interesting way that I can, get in person and across the country. So we'll be doing some classes and some VIP classes where people get original artwork with their class. And so I'm very open to creative ways of traveling as long as, it is financially supported. Like in this instance, I'm being paid to go out there and the plane ticket is included. So
right.
I'm a pretty big believer in manifestation.
Yes. Absolutely.
And
how do you get your work? Are you going to take your work with you?
I'm probably going to ship, a bunch of my prints over. And then if I have any originals, I could just carry it on in a tube because I'm just going to do watercolor. But yeah, I think most artists, they do ship their artwork, but they have the carriers that you can pay now. It just costs like a couple grand, but they'll safely get large artwork down to a gallery. And if you're selling pieces for $10,000, it's not a big deal. So that's a place to get.
Yes, of course, yes.
Yeah.
But at least it's good you'll be going. It's Indiana that you're going to. And when is that? When is that going to happen?
That's going to happen in September.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be wonderful.
Yeah,
and
so
that's
I'll
great.
share more. Yeah, I'll share more as that gets closer and everything is lined up because I know we're just in the beginning stages of planning right now. But yeah, that'll be really fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. And of course, bringing it to a wider audience, that's great.
Totally.
Coming further east, because you're actually from Florida originally.
I am, yeah.
How long have you been out in Seattle now?
So probably about 11 years.
Okay. So you've been out there a while.
Yes. And in Florida, my artwork wasn't very popular.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, of course, my skill has gotten a lot better since then. And also my energy has shifted so much, but yeah, it is a hard place to get by on art. And I'm just so happy that the internet and technology has come so far because you can really make a living at home and you never have to show out in the world at all.
Right. Well, that's true. I mean, when you have a message, when you have touched somebody, when they see something there, of course. And sure, how else would somebody see that? I mean, think about it. To help people. I know that, yes, we've spent a lot of time with technology and sometimes it's not of our making, but we've been forced to join in because it's there. But, from a therapeutic standpoint, from a therapist to people that have been closed off that need help. I mean, think about if somebody's struggling and they somehow see your picture and it resonates with them, it can help them in some way. I mean, that's really the goal. Look at what it's done for them. And I think that that's really why the internet is so important. The technology is so important. Really, the world is at our fingertips and people can actually see, hey, I'm not alone. That there's somebody else who struggled through this. There's somebody else who's going through it right now. Or this work of art speaks to me. It gives me the courage. It gives me the capability of standing on my own 2 feet and making that move, because how many people are frightened to not make a move? They don't even know where to make that move to. So really, I applaud you for all of the prolific work that you do and how you get it out there. I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
I always enjoy looking at your work as it comes out. When you post it, I think it's fabulous. And just all the work that you personally have done with your healing journey. And I'm so grateful that you've decided to share what you've gone through, because so many people sometimes they're even fearful to share. And I
Yeah.
think that in sharing, we help other people. So I
Yeah.
think that's been absolutely wonderful. I thank you so much for everything that you've shown us today. And I hope you come back again. I'm actually going to be having somebody on that's doing that has a woman's gallery.
Oh, wow.
She's going to be on in a couple of episodes, and yes, she deals with women that are what she calls under the radar. So it'll be interesting to see. I know she's had shows with women who've dealt with domestic violence, and I know she's had shows with women that were incarcerated.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and so it'll be interesting to hear her speak that how she got involved with that. But I always find it fascinating because I find that art really can heal. And
Oh,
all
yeah.
the arts. I mean, it could be expressive, it could be creative, but
Right.
all the arts, it's a way that people can heal.
Yeah,
So
I agree. Hmm.
yeah, I thank you very much for sharing all your gifts with all of us.
Thank you so much, Marissa. I appreciate being here. And yeah, I really try to be available as a person too, and not just a creator. So if somebody needs help getting out of an abusive situation, my inbox is always open because it took a community to get me free. So I'm
Mhm.
happy to do some, research for people that are just completely overwhelmed. And so that's another aspect to it as well, is that I really do want to help people in a very real way too,
Mhm.
not just emotionally, but like, let's get you out of there. Here are some resources, so
And that's wonderful. We'll have to collaborate a lot more
yeah.
because I always like to have things on speed dial for people because really, and you know yourself, there are many times where people have even thought about it and then they just go back on it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they may do that back and forth for a long time, and then one day they just don't want to do it anymore and they go, and
Yeah.
that's when they need help. So it's really wonderful that you offer to help people like that,
Oh,
and
yeah.
to give back to give back because at the time you had gotten help.
That's right.
But now giving back with not only your art, but in other ways. But it's wonderful. We'll definitely have to collaborate much more.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
interested. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. And well, I hope to speak to you soon. I will definitely put all of your information in the comments, definitely, so people know where to get your work, where they can see your work, what type of work you have, and where they can purchase things, and how they can follow you. That'd be perfect. And definitely I'm going to find out when I speak with the woman from the gallery, the women's gallery, just to see maybe I can put you two together.
That would be amazing.
That'd be great. Yeah. She does a lot of shows for women, a lot of one-woman shows, and that'd be perfect. The two of
Yeah.
you may be able to collaborate on things. But again, I want to thank you so much for taking the time today to come on and speak to me. I enjoyed it immensely. And I hope that we could speak soon again.
Yes, I do too. I'm here, I'm available, and I'm inspired by what you're doing, and it really resonates. And yeah, this connection has been really great. Thanks for
Yes,
having
it's great. Oh, thank you so much again for coming. And I will definitely speak with you soon. Well, sooner than you think, because I need to buy more mugs. So I will definitely be in touch off screen, because I promised my daughter I would get a few more so she could have a collection of them. So
Awesome.
definitely, yes. And then we'll speak soon.
Okay, great.
That'd be
Thank you so
perfect.
much.
Once again, thank you so much, and take care, Maggie.
Thank you, you too.